the surface, college sports are as they always have been. Attend a game today and you're bound to get what you came for. Athletes performing at their best, pushing their physical limits, and chasing competitive excellence. But there's another game being played behind the scenes, and there's no playbook for this one. Look deeper, and you'll start to see changes sweeping the field. And just like with any other game, there will be winners, and there will be losers.
Conference realignment isn't the only hot topic in college football, though. NIL remains on everybody's mind.
The reality is, our student athletes deserve something better.
Name, image, and likeness was obviously a way in which athletes could ultimately profit off of obviously their name, image, likeness.
The NCAA has failed. They dropped the ball. They did nothing about this issue when they had a chance.
Now, it's made the situation far more salacious than anybody ever anticipated.
So, how did we get here? When did athletes making money become such a big deal? Not too long ago, people welcomed things like NIL and revenue sharing as empowering for college athletes. Many still do, but not so fast. There are unintended consequences to face, examine, and tackle head on. Welcome to the pay era. First of all, we need to define amateurism. It's a term familiar to longtime fans of college sports, which holds that athletes cannot be compensated for their athletic services. So while colleges and universities are perfectly free to generate revenue from ticket sales, merchandise, broadcasting rights, and, most importantly, the name, image, and likeness of its college athletes.
It's melty, it's crunchy, and it's queso-y. Easiest choice I've ever made.
The players themselves can't. Or at least they couldn't before. That's all changing, and it's thanks in part to the Supreme Court.
The biggest court in the country turned to the NCAA and said, you're no longer as special as you think you are. This is a multi-billion-dollar business. We need to start treating it like one, and you are now subject to most of, if not all of, the same rules that a lot of these other business industries, right? We can't have every newspaper in the country setting a mark on how much they're going to pay the reporters.
The U.S. Supreme Court today delivered a blow to the NCAA as the justices sided with former college athletes in a dispute over compensation.
Over the past decade, legal and political challenges have threatened to topple the NCAA's prohibition of athletes seeking NIL deals, and it all came crashing down in June 2021.
We need to safeguard the non-employment status of student athletes to maintain the core principles of collegiate athletics.
The Supreme Court only rules on 100 to 150 cases per year, but that didn't stop them from ruling against the NCAA in a June 2021 antitrust lawsuit, NCAA v. Alston, which signaled the end of the NCAA using amateurism, its academic mission, or anything else as justification for prohibiting college athletes from making money off their own name, image, and likeness. And the ball has kept on rolling in the modern day. That 2021 decision opened up the floodgates for athletes to appear in advertising campaigns, sell their own merch, make paid appearances, or even start their own businesses.
Growing up in the sport of gymnastics, you are constantly being judged. So being able to have something that brings you to that moment of happiness and that moment of peace and bliss is essential.
But it didn't give them access to the revenue earned by their own schools from broadcasting and monetizing so-called amateur sports. It did, however, spark serious debate over what college athletes are really worth and what compensation for their own product really looks like.
At the end of the day, we are treating these college athletes as employees, but we're saying they're students, and that just simply doesn't fly anymore.
College athletics and college football in particular does not operate as a normal workplace. The employer, the entity for which someone is working, does not pay them directly. It's sort of backwards. It's like anti-capitalist in a way. It is the one industry left in the United States where the employing entity or entities do not pay the laborers.
Enter revenue sharing. Mounting pressures didn't exit college sports once that landmark Supreme Court decision hit the papers in 2021. If anything, it accelerated them. What we have now is a legal and political framework that is fighting back against the NCAA's long-standing control of college athletes as assets. Think of it this way. College sports are finally succumbing to the pressures of capitalism, and it's no question money is being made off the athletes generating such entertainment value. College football, for instance, is the second most popular sport in America, behind only the NFL, and the NCAA generated nearly $1.3 billion in revenue across the 2022 to 23 fiscal year. That's a lot of money, and college athletes are starting to make serious progress towards claiming their share of it.
As athletes figure out their personal brands and who they want to be in the public eye more and more as they have these opportunities, they're finding out that they have a lot more power than they realized they had before.
Right now what we see is athletes being able to go out and exercise their monetary and marketing utility as any other American. and they're making what the market bears.
Sounds like a major victory for college athletes, right? Well, cracks are showing in this newly laid landscape already, and they're being felt of all the places at Loyola Marymount University.
Anyone, and I mean anyone, who thinks that they can just cut 6 of our high-performing sports is absolutely delusional. Yeah!